This is pre-reading for Chapter 36, Thucydides' Peloponnesian War, Part 3, The Athenians Go Too Far. So now, last time we heard a speech by Hermocrates in Syracuse, encouraging them to make themselves ready for war. But now we hear Nicias. Okay, you see his name right here, Nicias. He is the Athenian general. He gave a pep talk to his army. Okay, so one of the things that we have to point out right away is, I'm going to put them in purple, but I mention this because just to highlight what we have in chapter 36, oops, not that, what we have in chapter 36. So here we have an optative use. And then down here, another optative use. As we scroll down a little bit, there's going to be two more. Here, legoien on. And then right here, okay, sothiemen on. Okay, so the optative isn't something to freak out about. In general, we're going to translate these all as what we call the potential optative. And there an operative word is might, okay? I might be able to, whatever, or would, or could, something that conveys the idea of potential, okay? That's the optative use, at least this independent optative use, okay? Now, let's back up here and start taking a look at the text, all right? So we have a vocative here, so this is another speech, right? A lot of it is just going to be vocabulary, okay? A lot of it is, sorry, got cut off there briefly. Now, a lot of it is just going to be vocabulary. So, for example, this word here, parainesai, looks like a verb form, but it's actually not. Make sure you double check below. That's a dative. That's a dative, right? So it goes with this dative right here. Otherwise, we're just chunking it out here. Here's tende makein. Now, one thing I do want to point out is a little bit of a review. Do you remember back a few chapters when we have a compound negative followed by a negative? Okay, do you remember what happens when we have it that way? So we have udais uk. Okay, the opposite, of course, is uk udais, and then the compound comes second. But do you remember how we translate it when udais uk? Okay. Okay. So in the next sentence here, starting with aute gar, Nicias is encouraging his men to find their confidence, their courage, their tharos, right? They're going to find their courage in what place? We have a comparison that's going to be made. All right, so this paraskoie, notice the feminine, hikai notera estin. And then, of course, this is what I'm comparing it to. Then to what kind of words are they? I'm going to take that back. So they are logoi, kalos, lechthentes. That all goes together. So this, the paraskoie, is more sufficient than what kind of words? Okay, logoi, lechthentes kalos. Okay, that's the kind of words with, okay, asthenous stratu. Now, as we move into the next sentence, please notice the meta plus the genitive, right? Now, in the last chapter, well, in chapter 35, we learned about potential deliberative question. Here we have a question. And to be honest with you, the author could have used, there's a potential optative, the author could have used a deliberative question here with the subjunctive. But here we have an optative plus on expressing potential. But this is really my key word here, pos. Okay? This two goes together, right? And it's more like it's a rhetorical question, like, how could anyone not? How could anyone not have? That's really the thrust of that sentence. How could anyone, or how might anyone not have? Okay. This next sentence also is meant to bolster the courage of the troops. Okay. Now, he's going to make a distinction. He's going to make a distinction between a professionally trained soldier and a crew of just a mob, is really the sense of it. Okay, so in just very colloquial terms, the thrust of this sentence is you're not going to be fighting, super skilled soldiers. You're just going to be fighting a mass of guys. And this is meant to encourage them that they're not going against a super formidable enemy, but rather just people who are fighting to defend their own soil. That's the general sentiment that Nicias is expressing here. The trash talking continues here on the behalf of Nicias. Remember, he's prepping soldiers for a fight. All right. Here's my subject, right? Hyperphronos, they have a high mind, a mind that's beyond her. They scorn, right? They look down on us. Okay? And here's the reason why. Okay? It's not the reason why they look down on us, but it's the reason why the Athenians are going to be victorious. Right? Here's another comparative word. Make sure you get that. So Nicias says, here is what's going to happen to the Syracusans. Trapesontai. Okay, make sure you get what tense does the sigma tell you. Okay, trapesontai. But here, I know like trepo, trapesontai is really, I'm just going to point this out, the alpha here, this is from trepo, right? And you learned that trepo in the middle means to turn oneself. But here, look here, atropane is the sixth principal part. So what tense are we dealing with here? I'm just going to tell you. Here we have a future passive. Okay, not a future perfect, future passive. All right? And the idea is they will be put to flight. They will be routed. And here's the reason why. Diate, he ekainon episteme estin heton, and here's my comparison. All right, this is why the Syracusans are going to be put to flight, as Nicias encourages his men. He's telling them to remember that they're more skilled. Okay, in this next sentence, let's point out the fact that we have a te and a kai. That's kind of instrumental to the argument. But there's a definite break in thought here. These first sentences have been a lot of, whoop and firing up the troops. But now Nicias, who's an elder statesman and an old man at this time, experienced in life, he is also, at this point, going to call to the Athenians' attention that they actually are in a rather precarious position. And so they should not be so flippant about the whole thing or filled with overconfidence, because the situation is serious. And what makes it serious is that they are so far from home and they don't have resources. This is it. Okay, so we have to make this work, otherwise we're in a world of hurt. Now, we haven't seen this particular form, this full form of the reflexive, for quite some time. Okay, or hemeteros auton. It is an alternative form, right? It's what we call the plenary form. So you just translate it our own, okay? Our own land, okay? So it's an intensive form of hemeteros. And proske, what kind of land is it? I'm sorry, this all goes together. We are near, you're going to have to massage this into English. He's highlighting the negativity here, ge eudemia philia. It might not be the way we say it, but he is emphasizing the negativity here with eudemia. Of course, it's from eudais, but here in the dative feminine, singular. Now, the next phrasing is kind of strange, okay? So, hoi polemioi, legoi en an. They might say this. He hasn't actually heard this, but the potential is that the enemy, in this case the Syracusans, they might say this, okay? Now, make sure you get the tense here on estai. And this is what they might say. Tade. I'm sorry. They might say, peri patridas estai ha agon. So they might say that. But now Nicias, but I say to you. But I say to you in contrast to that. And this is what kind of sounds odd in our ears. Okay? Uk en patridi estai ha agon. Okay? So they're saying peri patridas, and I'm saying uk en patridi. Now, this sounds strange, like I said, but what his argument is this. You guys have to remember, we're a long way from home, and we don't have any resources right at hand. All right? So if we blow it, we are really going to be in dire straits, and it's going to be a desperate situation. And so I'm encouraging you to remember this and take this mission seriously. And that's why he goes on to say what he means. Now, for this reason, diatuta, and we have an a. So either or, okay, and here are the only two options. Okay, and one option is hoiresomen nikein, and the other option is or uk, radios sothaimen an. Now, I think you've caught on to this potential subjunctive. He's not saying it's going to happen, but he's saying it might happen. Okay? So here we have hemeteros auton, which is just about the same as what we had up here, right, with hemeteros auton. So again, your own. Up here it was our own, but over here, your own. Okay, therefore, tes, doxes, remember, or as the notes point out, mimnesko takes a genitive. You are mindful of. But this participle here, okay, still talking to the Athenians, and here, okay, that's what I want you to do as we go into battle. For, I'm going to explain why I just said that. Hey, atropia. Now, that dative, we have a comparison here. So dative with a comparison, that's grammar from chapter 33. And here is my genitive of comparison. Okay, so what is blank or more fierce or not clever with dinoptera? Not clever, but what is more terrible is really the essence here. All right, so apart from the new things, the potential optatives, it's pretty straightforward. We've chunked it out nicely, made a few comments, and that is the pre-reading for chapter 36.